Trump focus on his agenda. Here to discuss Republican Congressman Steve King from Iowa. Congressman, always good to have you, and I'm going to throw you a curveball. Let's talk about, we'll get to the politics of the situation, but let's talk about the basis of the fight on immigration, because we know that's important to you, and it's going to be coming now. It's often marginalized to just being about a wall, but let's talk about the condition, because the president has set a basis for what the problem is that defies the numbers. He has said millions of people get thrown out of here every year. There is nothing like that number anywhere in the Homeland Security's report year over year over year. And he has said that they're coming through the wall, they're coming through this porous border. 95% of the people they catch at ports of entry. So can we agree on the facts? How do you see the problem?
Well, I think that if you're going to say millions of people, you've got to leave off the part of every year, but the cumulative effect over, say, a 10-year period of time, millions. And I know that in
But he didn't say that.
I understand that. At the peak of our, but the peak of our illegal immigration that we had, we were up to 4 million attempts a year by the Border Patrol, and that's part of the testimony before the congressional hearing under oath. So I know that it's appropriate, I think, to cite that in a way, but it's more objective now to roll this thing down and understand that that has slowed down over the last 10 years for economic reasons, for a lower birth rate in Mexico reasons, but I think also that's been accelerated with regard to the illegal drugs that are coming into America. And it's true that 80 to 90% of the illegal drugs consumed in America come from or through Mexico, and that is a crisis.
But you know very well, and we learned here in our documentary about El Chapo, that most of the drugs that come across the border go underneath it, not right across it. It's the tunnel system that they have. So a wall would be a little bit of a misapplication of a prophylactic against that actual problem. But for the president to say millions every year, and they don't get rid of any of the criminals, you know 90% of the people they throw out are for crimes. So we have to agree on the facts. Can we do that?
Well, I think a couple of them I don't agree with. I don't agree that that high a percentage comes through the tunnel. I've been down there to interdict, especially the marijuana smuggling coming across the border in the open desert. I have been there to help arrest people that are smuggling drugs into America, backpacking marijuana into the United States with backpacks that weigh an average of 65 pounds.
I'm not saying none. But this is about, the facts. To say that's our problem. You build a wall, we're going to be fine. That is not really agreed with by many people who are in the border security business, as I'm sure you know. They're not saying they don't need a wall. They're saying the wall is not the answer.
I'd say this. The wall is the central infrastructural component that we need to build. And then the rest of it are things that we need to add on as vibration sensors, sensors in the urban areas where they are tunneling, but out in the open desert, they're not going to be tunneling like they do in the urban areas. They have to have some place to get rid of the dirt. We would see that happen. So I think we need cameras. I think we need to have night vision equipment out there. We need to have sensors. But if we don't build the wall, they will just continue coming across the desert, and that's the way they bring in people that are criminals and are terrorists. And then, of course, you have those who are coming here that want a job in America. That's part of it too. But if we don't build the wall, we're going to end up with the mess we have today. Barack Obama would not secure this border. He refused to secure this border because he called it prosecutorial discretion. And walls don't have prosecutorial discretion.
But here's what I don't get. President Obama, bad when it comes to immigration. That is your main case. He made it worse. But the numbers have gotten better year over year. And to the extent that more deportations are a good thing, he's done more deportations. It seems like there is a flawed premise here about the nature of the problem. I'm not saying there is not a problem, but it's not millions every year. It's hundreds of thousands. It's really off by about 50%, his number. And the number's been going down during Obama's tenure, and they've been throwing out more criminals. I just don't understand what the premise is here.
Well, Chris, I would say that Obama's focus on criminals and the most violent of criminals, that's a good and right thing. And by the way, that's Donald Trump's focus as well. But Obama changed the characterization of deportation. We have a category called voluntary return. If they're picked up at the border and they agree to go back to Mexico, then we haul them back there, open the side door on the van, they walk back to Mexico.
Yeah, but look, that's an interesting metaphor, but it doesn't meet up with the numbers.
That was not a deportation, though, under Bush.
But here it is. Look, here are the numbers.
deportation.
The Homeland Security, DHS, releases at the end of 2016, okay? Here's how they categorize it. And, of course, you can, like the president, say that this is all politicized and everybody's lying. But here's what they put in the report. An increasing percentage of those deported from the interior were convicted of serious crimes. Over 90% in 2016. Guess what the number was in 2009, the period you just reminded us of?
I don't know.
51%. So it went from 51 to 90. Congressman, I get that you want to build the wall and you see it as a good thing, but the problem doesn't stand up to what has been introduced as the reality.
Let me suggest another component of this that's not been brought up, and that is that the Border Patrol and Customs Border Protection count those that they interdict, count those that they might count those that they see. And if they're not having a full effort out there to interdict people crossing the border, these numbers of illegal immigration that are coming into the country will go down just because they didn't observe as many and they didn't interdict as many. And that's an equation we've watched for a long time here. And we've watched and I say, I go down to the border, I watch what's going on there. I ride with Border Patrol sometimes at night, and I get a chance to really listen to what's going on. They don't ever think they can shut this flow off across the border. To them, it's about going to work for 8 hours, do what they can do, and punch out, and we can't get prosecutions. When you have a Border Patrol agent that's got a straight truck of marijuana with 2,500 pounds on it, an open and shut case, and he can't get a prosecution on that, we need more judges, we need more prosecutors, we need to do a full court press on the border, then that will be the deterrent that can control this border. We've got to build the wall. If we don't, the next president will let them go through that border the way this president has.
Yeah, except the numbers are going in the right direction. I'm just saying you got to have the facts as well as what you want to see in the future. Congressman?
Chris, let me just add another piece, if I could. We're spending $6.7 million a mile to protect that southern border. That's $13.4 billion, 13.4. And now we're building expensive interstate through Iowa cornfields for $4 million a mile. We can build a wall, and a fence for around $2 million a mile, and that's 1/3 of one annual budget for our border. You know that the security in that border will go up dramatically if we put the infrastructure in place. And I just think we need to think about this in dollars and cents as well as the numbers you're delivering me, which I'll go back and check, and we'll have another conversation, I hope.
Check the numbers. We'll keep talking about it, Congressman. Thank you.